When thinking about the destination of SeaWorld, what initial thoughts come to mind? Fun with your family, friendly killer whales who do tricks, Shamu splashing you. Shamu has been a household name that many remember. Shamu was presented as a fun, friendly, well-trained killer whale who had a very popular show at SeaWorld. But the reality is that these animals are not meant to be kept in captivity. After viewing Blackfish, which is a documentary about captive whales, this was brought to my attention, and I decided to further research by watching another documentary called The Whale and searched the internet and read some articles. SeaWorld and many other similar attractions portray this image of helping and rescuing the animals, but in actuality, captivity can affect the physical and mental health of the whales, their natural instincts, and the safeties of the trainers. These animals are highly emotional and social animals, and they have a part of the brain that humans don't have. It's part of the paralimbic cleft, which is a very emotional part of the brain. They're very intelligent and spiritual animals as well, so when they get into captivity and they have this lack of mental stimulation, it can cause aggression, stress, and mental illness with the other whales. For physical health, male orcas in the wild have straight dorsal fins, but in captivity, 100% of males in captivity have collapsed dorsal fins, and less than 1% in the wild have collapsed dorsal fins. And SeaWorld tells people that this is due to old age, but it's not true. It's actually due to them being held in captivity. Captivity can also affect their hearing because they're very vocal animals, and when they try to communicate, the sound waves bounce off like the tanks and can affect their hearing. Captivity also causes early death. With the orcas, they in the wild males tend to live 50 years, and females live from anywhere from 80 to 100, and in captivity they can only live to be about 30. And in captivity, it also weakens their immune system because they're just highly stressed, and the water is filtered and has a lot of chemicals in it, and it's just they're not used to that kind of water. They're used to the natural water. And in captivity, they also eat dead herring instead of in the wild. They can eat a variety of different fish. They can eat sea lions or even sharks. And their teeth can also be affected by gnawing on like the walls of the tanks and the concrete. And captivity can also affect their natural instincts. For example, raking in the wild. Males are meant to be kept around the perimeter, so in captivity the females attack them and rake them with their teeth, and it can cause bleeding, and then the males have to be isolated into a separate tank because the females attack them, and this can also cause stress on the males because they're isolated from any kind of like contact. And usually in captivity the babies and the mothers are separated, which in the wild this never happens. They usually are by each other's side their whole lives. And in the wild, they also stay within their own families, and when they're put in captivity, they're all put into a tank with different whales from around the world and with different genes, and this can cause aggression and violence between whales in captivity. It never occurs in the wild, and whales have died in captivity because of this. For example, in the documentary Blackfish, they show a whale named Orky who got head-butted in the head, and it cut an artery in his head, and he bled out of his blowhole and died. Yep, and then it also affects the trainer's safety. Over 100 incidents between captive orcas and humans have happened from 1967 to 2012. No harm has ever been done to humans in the wild. They're known to lunge at trainers, hold trainers underwater, and even kill trainers in captivity. In 1987 in SeaWorld, California, John Sillick was riding another orca, and another one jumped on top of him, causing fractures to his pelvis, vertebrae, and femur. And SeaWorld blamed it on him and said that it was a timing error by him. And other trainers who previously worked there knew nothing about this attack. And then in 2006, SeaWorld, California, a female whale attacked Ken Peters, who is one of the most experienced trainers at SeaWorld, and she would take his foot She bit his foot, took him all the way down to the bottom of a 36-foot tank, and then did it like repeatedly, and he suffered puncture wounds and a broken left foot. And then Tilikum, he's the largest orca held in captivity. He's 12,000 pounds, and he's been in captivity for 30 years. He's been involved with 3 out of the 4 total deaths with humans and captive orcas. Number 1 being Kelty Burns in 1991 at Sealand of the Pacific. Number 2 was Daniel Dukes in 1999 at SeaWorld Orlando, and the third and most popular one was Don Branshaw in 2010 at SeaWorld Orlando. And then there was another one in Laura Parque, which is in the Canary Islands in Spain, and his name was Alexis Martinez, and he was killed by a male named Keto there. And Don Branshaw got killed during one of the shows. He took her by her arm and wouldn't let go of her, and she ended up drowning, and she also fractured her neck, broke her jaw, and dislocated her elbow and knee. And then on May 30th, 2012, trainers banned the trainers from entering the water with the orcas, and they have to remain behind barriers during the shows now. And SeaWorld appealed this. And so, as we see, captive orcas are obviously affected by being in tanks that are basically like bathtubs to them, and it causes, it causes effects to their physical and mental health, their natural instincts, and the safety of the trainers. So next time you are planning a trip to SeaWorld, you might want to reconsider.